However, the mechanism of enforcing it is a problem in Namibia. And this is where we come again with the money thing. If you have money, you can enforce it. And yeah, this is, I don't know whether we can perhaps talk over lunch a bit more about that. But this is why these things are important. Also our African instruments. Because as a country, we are held accountable by our peers in Africa as well as on the UN. So they can ask, why are you not doing this? They can't, well, sometimes they do, but usually if you have oil. But they can't come and say, listen, we're going to fight you now because you're not giving your people the rights they're entitled to. But it hangs in a lot with funding, international funding that you receive. So for a government to comply to these things, eventually give them more security for investments, which then brings prosperity.
Thank you. Let's have quick responses to the questions that have been asked so that we can allow people to make more comments.
Okay. Aline already said a lot. What I wanted to also to emphasize is in Namibia we have this policy of decentralization, and we have a lot of mechanisms in place to give citizens the access to the information. What are we doing with that? Somebody asked a question already. Really, how much are we already working with what we've got? We're talking about we don't have enough money. We might never have enough money, but can't we work with what we have, with the resources that we have? Because even Carola told me the other day, we always talk about we don't have money, but is money really what hinders us to do what we want to do? We have a project currently where we are asking people, do you know where Parliament is, or do you know where Evelyn Street is? There are more people who know where Evelyn Street is in Katutura than that they know where Parliament is. Our High Court is there. I'm not sure if the whole Constitution is written on the Supreme Court, but the access to information is there in little tits and bits in this town. It's just, do we really take the effort to go there as citizen? And that's why I always say, how much effort do we take or do we make as a citizen to access the information or to be part of this whole democracy process? Because in Namibia, as I said before, we have a lot that there is. We are a democratic country. It's just what do we do with it? And a lot of it, we rather leave the responsibility to the local authority, to the political parties, to the lawyers, to the people with money. It's always somebody else's responsibility. But how much of it is my responsibility? And in Namibia, we have this culture of fear. I don't want to speak up because I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to speak up because I don't want to be seen as being a conflict, in conflict with the people. In Namibia, I feel like we don't create enough conflict. Conflict is good. I'm not talking about armed conflict. I'm talking about conflict where we can have discussion and where we can ask critical questions and where we can have these debates. But coming back again to it, how much of it are citizens doing? How much of it are we really doing? And how much do I rather say, no, I don't have enough money. This is not my duty. This is somebody else's responsibility. I leave it to somebody else. And this is really a culture we need to start questioning ourselves.
Mary Jane?
Okay, I'll be brief too. I think there was one specific question asked to me, but in answering it, I'll touch on other issues too. I think there was the question of mechanisms. I don't know what's the status in Namibia, but in some countries there is the Office of the Public Protector, where you can take some of these questions. Unfortunately, in most countries, also there's a lot of bureaucracy in there, and like the Ombudsman's office, it's likely that the Public Protector is also not well funded. But I also worry about the constant reference to expensive litigation. I think also as a society it would be advisable to move away from being a litigious society. I don't know what the poverty levels are in Namibia, but I would suspect they're quite significant. So if you are in a society that is significantly poor, you cannot be also a litigious society, because obviously that becomes a more expensive form of redress. So that links to my answer to the gentleman at the back who was saying, how do you make it work? How do you make it practical? You have to take baby steps. try to take cases or issues that are an easy, quick win. Because at the process, you are building the confidence of the people to fight for things. So you take small issues that are an easy win, less contentious at the high level, build the confidence of the people, train them how to handle those issues, which is why we're starting at the very low level of local government, talking about refuse collection and how to demand that it's done in your street or done in your neighborhood. Then you move to bigger issues. It's not that we don't have the bigger issues in our case files, but you are trying to build the culture, trying to build a system, and trying to build the acceptability within your courts. When your courts now start being more proactive from magistracy and so on, then you can now take the big issues and you have the people behind you. But you can't go immediately for the jugular, the big fish, which is, I know what people want. This is what they want to see people do, but it doesn't usually work and it's more expensive. And then I think also there is a need to connect to other systems around the world. I'll speak for us in the fight against corruption. We have, under the UN Convention Against Corruption, the Civil Society Coalition on the UNCAC. And it's one of the methods that you can use to further enforce or to compel the government of Namibia to give access to information. There's Articles 10 and 13 that talk about ensuring that citizens have access to administrative information. So it's also building those solidarity synergies that make us stronger in unity than in our different parts.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, she's just reminding me, yeah, I've seen those hands, and I hope you will not drown. There was a story about somebody whose hand was seen and then drowned. So, just quickly, we have literally 10 minutes. That's going over the lunchtime. So, here's the deal. I know that you have a lot to say, but please try and, I will take all the hands that we've seen, but please try and be short. I will cut you if I feel that you're going too long, so that we can get more people ask questions and the conversation flows. You have 2 days here, so do not worry about not getting your thoughts through. So let's see those hands. Okay, this is like an auction now. The guys who are assisting me, can you check whose hands are up? Okay. Okay, be honest, we've seen those hands, and those are the only hands we will take now for the last session, unfortunately. And then you can continue the conversation. The issue of the paralegals, Nata, you can raise it when you answer the next set of questions. Thank you. So let's go. Let's start with you, gentlemen. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Felicity Kwaposes. I'm from the Ministry of Justice, Legislative Drafting Directorate. I just noted a very interesting thing that Mary Jane said about using the local government as an accountability mechanism. You know, in Namibia, we also have a local government plays a very big role. I've noticed that Section 11 of the Local Authorities Act actually says that a mayor is accountable to the inhabitants. So, in fact, the inhabitants can hold a municipality or a village or a town accountable in terms of planning and development in Namibia. The question is, do the community know about this provision? And I think the civil society can play a big role in terms of advocacy, you know, equipping a community or the inhabitants of a specific local authority with advocacy skills and teaching them how they can lobby their councils to be accountable to them. That's basically all.
Thank you.
Joris Coman again. Good luck. Jonathan has millions and millions of Facebook followers that challenge him on a daily, hourly, minute basis on the things that he's doing wrong and right. The question we ask here in Namibia is how many of our political leadership, how many of our permanent secretaries, how many of our ministers, how many of our parliamentarians actually are on Facebook to respond to the calls from people that are also in that same system. I'm a social media activist, and I believe that that is an important area to pursue in this particular forum. Thanks.
Good.
Joseph again. I simply just wanted to add on to what the previous delegates have said, and also to simply look at the ombudsman representative. In terms of the situation when it comes to questioning, are we really as citizens being the government that we are supposed to be, because the government is the people. The people in parliament are servants of the government. So there are situations, and I must say this, who are these people, this government that we are talking about, that is standing up and asking and enforcing the civil servants to do the job that they have been voted in power for? Question GIPF, or an example, GIPF situation, NUNW has taken it upon their shoulders to run and make sure that that situation never dies. And they want questions answered, and they want action taken against those that have been implicated in that GIPF saga. Same scenario, I read The Villager yesterday. The media, its role has to come forth and to not just report on stories, but to be the advisors to the government, as he indicated in terms of social media. The media becomes the voice of the people, and they can tell the government, like The Villager has said, fire coming. As the Minister of Health, he's not doing the job that he's doing and that he was supposed to do. The situation with NBC, they have put it out and said it might be and should be blamed on the Minister of Information, as indicated. How is the media doing that? And hopefully tomorrow, as we discuss media and information, we'll be able to dwell on that. But is the citizen standing up to say, do what you are voted in power for?
Good. Let's go to this side and get those questions. Yeah, she was. Yes, she was.
Thank you very much.
I will know if they will not recognize.
I hope this won't happen when time for going to heaven comes. Hope I won't be left out. I just wanted to point out some principles on access to information that should also allay some of the fears. Some of the two principles of access to information that are cardinal are that the fees for accessing data should be very much just associated to processing the data. It's not really you're buying the information. So that fear should be allayed. And then also the fact that the principle, or another principle of access to information, is that there should be proactive disclosure. So it's not all the time that the ordinary member of the public should be able to go to an office and ask for information. The institution has to, as much as possible, make available the information. And then as regards the systems, I know that this is a major worry, and we're also worrying about the same in Zambia because the government has promised to enact this law. But then we said we can start from somewhere. And so if we have the spokespersons within the systems, those people who are handling information, they can be a starting point, and then we start to address the other gaps that are there and start to embrace the other system. So those are just my minor contributions to this discussion. Thanks.
Good. Let's get an indication of the people on this side. There were only three. There were three or two.
Since I'm a young person, I have to stand now. I do not know whether it's a debating or asking a question.
It's commentary and question.
Oh, commentary. Okay. I quote a statement from my one of sister here. She was saying about that we are having a culture of fear. As a civil servant employed by a certain ministry.
Be free.
Okay. My name is Comrade Richard Kaimbi. When we talk about a culture of fear, you know, whether you are employed in the government or whether you are employed in the secret service, yes. You know, in a company, there's policies. When you are interviewed, they ask you a question of what do you understand about secrets? You see, they will tell you that you must not reveal information outside there. For an example, maybe you are employed in the Ministry of Safety. For an example, I'm talking the truth. So they will ask you that in interview. In order for you not to go out in the public to tell the public how you are arresting people. Or maybe in the Ministry of Finance. So now when one will come to me, or whether I'm employed in the trade union, whether is NUW, whether is Tukna.
Yeah, we don't know which one, but go ahead.
Yeah. So now when one will come to me, I will be uncomfortable to release information. But there are some information which one will disclose, but one we cannot disclose the in-house. So, and I think that we can also try to look into that because it does not protect. For an example, if one will come to me and ask me that, how do you arrest people? I will be uncomfortable to disclose that information. But someone want to know such information. For an example, maybe you want to know the statistic of baby dumping. Those who were committing crime of this baby dumping, and maybe you want to know the statistic of how many percentage crime committed by the youth. From age 1 to maybe to 20 to 35. That is the age group of the youth. You might not get it unless you have to write kind of a letter, as my sister she was saying. So what are we saying is we the nation? And also one thing what I want to say is this Comrade Korea.
Yeah, can you please round up because you know people are looking at their watches and getting anxious.
And one thing what I want to say is this thing of pointing fingers, because when I point the finger at you with one, the rest is come back to me. One of my brother was saying that what effort are we doing as we the Namibian citizen? Access to information. I personally am standing here when I need information from NAMFISA or elsewhere. Their office is open. We need to go there. But now we need to advise such institution that they must come up publicly to educate people, like a public lecture.
Thank you. Real quick, I'll have to give you a minute.
Thank you very much, Ms. Moderator and all the presenters. My name is Jeremy. My question is very short. I want just to comment because we see in Africa, the problem we have in Africa is leadership. Number one is a problem. The other one is blind loyalty. Because we are having, like now we are talking about political party, political organization. Our people go every year, after 5 years, they go and vote. They go in a polling booth, they vote. And the power of their vote, the problem with maybe our citizens also is their ignorance. Because if we see how our people are living in our regions, especially I don't want to talk only about government, local authority, regional council, and as I have seen my sister from Transparency International from Zimbabwe, as she mentioned that we have to bring them to account. And how many of us, like we see our municipality, like Windhoek here, we can visit, we can listen to our council what they are contributing. Like in Grootfontein where I come from, or Kahanja, but we find our citizens, they don't even care. Even to go to parliament, as you mentioned, they know more about Evelyn Street than they know our Tenement Palace. So they don't even go and find out what our member of parliament are discussing. But these issues are affecting us. So I wanted us to say as Namibians, it's time for us to rise up and get out of this ignorance. And I also think that our government also, because they are relaxed, because we don't demand, we don't go and protest, because we are like cowards, or we are a blend of the brave, but we are always relaxing, like the GRPF's issue. We have all this information, but what have we done? We are all quiet. So we have a lot of information that are available, but we need more information to come out. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to say 2 things. You must remember GIPF is not a public body, but a private company. That's why we need the other leg of access to information also. That's just what I wanted to comment on that. And I want to say to the media, you know, people sometimes I miss Mr. Smith. when Osmati had something to say, and when he put his teeth, and I mean, I've been on the receiving end of that, but if he put his teeth into something, he carried on. The way that we will change the attitudes and the way that government look at these things is by pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. So your voice must never become silent. That's all that I wish for you.
Okay, regarding civil society advocating, the Legal Assistance Center, Forum for the Future, the paralegals, there are a lot of civil society organizations advocating day and night. I've been advocating the last 6 years about knowledge about the system, and once you know the system, then you will also know where to get information. So civil society is busy advocating. Now it's really up to the citizens what they do with the information. And information in companies, in government, in wherever, in other institutions, there's a public relations officer for each institution, I believe, that can give you the information. So, and what we observe in the media world, that a lot of media practitioners or media students that study media become public relations officer. Why? There seems to be a high need for public relations officer for sharing information with the public. So I'm still wondering how come the public is not getting the information. And then paralegals and not affording court cases. There are paralegals. They are working in all 13 regions in Namibia. Maybe it's also important to know who are your NGOs, who are your institutions working in your regions. The paralegals are there to fight for your rights. They are there to inform you about what you can do. And the Legal Assistance Center, up to now, they've really been advocating for people that don't have money or that don't have enough money to get their rights heard. So they're here in Corner Street, I believe. It's really a matter of also who is situated where, who's doing what. Do I know who's busy with what?
I just want to reiterate the point that even government officials, public servants, also need to be educated. I think participatory democracy is not really a historical culture of Africa and African governments. It has to be taught to our public officials as much as it has to be taught to our citizens.
Good people, this is the end of the session. Give me and the girls a hand of applause. Great job, Yvonne.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for paying attention, thanks for participating. 2 quick but important announcements. The smaller one is the cocktail function tonight is at 6 at nice. So if you can make it there, it will be good. That's for the launch of the briefing paper called Sunlight is the Best Disinfectant, Why Namibia Needs Access to Information. Tonight at 6 at Nice Restaurant, for those who can make it. The second announcement is simply that, second announcement is simply that we're gonna go for lunch now. And to make it happen, someone should be at that door, someone is this door. As you go out, you get a voucher. You give this voucher to someone else at the restaurant upstairs. We are in section 1 and 2.